Hello, hello, I am Ghost, and I'm your host with the most for the next short while, and today we're going to be talking about some disturbing and uncomfortable songs out there in the wonderful landscape of music. Previously, I've done 3 videos on disturbing albums, all 3 of which I was quite content with the final product of, and I believe that I introduced a lot of people to some interesting quality and not so quality music. But now I thought that I'd take a moment to simply look at some individual songs that are particularly uncomfortable and disturbing. None of the songs here will match up with any of the songs you heard brief parts of in the previous series related to music. I've said it before and I'll say it again. In reality, while this is a horror-dedicated channel and I love horror and, disturbing media and all that stuff, I'm a music guy first and foremost. So, I hope you enjoy the video. I'll cut the bullshit and let's get to it.
Same dream over and over again, and I had one of them.
Starting off with a band I have yet to talk about on my channel, despite the fact that they are a band I really enjoy, is 22 Going on 23 by the Butthole Surfers. The Butthole Surfers are a noise rock band that you may or may not have heard of. Their most well-known songs are Pepper and Who Was in My Room Last Night. Those are also 2 of their most accessible songs, though not to discredit them, they are very good songs. However, Locust Abortion Technician, the album with 22 Going on 23, is definitely a more bizarre approach to music making, as is a lot of Butthole Surfers' other albums that are less well known in the streaming era. Locust Abortion Technician is a great album, and 22 Going on 23 is, unironically, one of my favorite songs on the album. It's gnarly, it's mean, and it creates some heavy, thick atmosphere with pounding guitar riffs and drums that sound like a guy trying to beat your fucking skull in. And it's just a really interesting song. Now, is it something that I'd walk up to a party and play? No, but it's definitely an interesting one. 22 Going on 23 begins with a woman calling into some radio show where she admits that a little while ago she was assaulted sexually. They ask her age, she's 22 going on 23, and then the rest of the song, almost all of the rest of the song, is weird individual words repeating and echoing over top big pounding guitar riffs, as you heard at the beginning of the segment. I'll read you a very brief excerpt of the lyrics now. Well, we're glad you kept trying. I have this problem. Last July I was assaulted sexually, and ever since then, I cannot sleep. I've been having trouble sleeping. How old are you? I'm 22 going on 23. And then the repetition begins. Medicine, counseling, anxiety, rape, program, medicine, sleep problems, psychiatrist, depression, anxiety, counseling, medicine, rape program, I cannot sleep, psychiatrist, depression, anxiety, counseling, sleep problems, medicine, and so on, until it cuts back to the woman talking on the radio show again. It's brutal, it's an unforgiving, mean song, and it's really interesting. Whatever the Butthole Surfers' goal with the song was, it's certainly above my head. I don't know if it's some type of commentary, or they were just like, hell yeah, this shit's gnarly. Whichever it is, it really and truly is a great song, albeit dark and unpleasant lyrically. A lot of people know about Tyler the Creator's first release, Bastard. Bastard was a really dark album, especially in comparison to Tyler's later works, such as Igor and Flower Boy and Call Me If You Get Lost, which are not particularly dark whatsoever. However, Tyler the Creator's first album, as I said, was a lot darker in its approach. It was part of the trilogy of his first 3 releases, which was Bastard, Goblin, and Wolf, at Camp Flognaw, with a guy talking to his psychiatrist about his experiences. Rotten Sarah is the follow-up to arguably the most famous song off of Bastard, Sarah. In Sarah, Tyler's character gets rejected by a girl when he asks them to prom. Proceeds to invade her home, kill her, rape her, all of that. It's a gnarly song. It's not pleasant. The reason I'm talking about Rotten Sarah is because a lot of people don't know Rotten Sarah exists. Didn't really have a proper release by Tyler. It was, I believe, leaked onto the internet quite a long while after Bastard's release. Which is why I wanted to talk about it, because a lot of people don't know it exists, and I think it's a remarkably interesting part of Tyler's discography. This takes place right after Sarah. I will read you some lyrics now. Cold blood, green eyes with a mute body, full of old drugs. Dead body laying next to Sarah, we're finally together. Truthfully, I kinda like this a little better. Now we're floating, our spirit's the dead. You can hear it. You call her stands up when you're near it. You can feel it on your mark, see it in the dark. Homicidal, I never had a fucking heart, and she tried to tear us apart. She begged me to stop and I didn't even start. And Sarah stays rotten in my base, and Sarah stays rotten in my base. And Sarah stays rotten in my base. I love her. Which means a few things. One, in his basement. The other being that he ate a portion of her. So, just throwing in a nice healthy dosage of cannibalism into the mix. Really gnarly, psychopathic afterthoughts of a horrible, horrible, heinous act. Which I think is arguably as or more disturbing than Sarah with its bizarre, repetitive nature. Rotten Sarah's really gnarly, and I think that to any Tyler fan, it is worth a listen. It's not necessarily a banger, I wouldn't say, but it's certainly an interesting song. La Dispute's King Park is a powerful song describing mass shootings, something that has plagued the world, particularly America, in recent years. Our populations have grown considerably more violent than the previous years, though this time it's a lot less motivated by some form of bigotry and more so just general misanthropy, which is highly disturbing in its own right. La Dispute tackles the topic of shootings with a poetic, angered, passionate delivery in the song King Park. I will read you some of the lyrics now. Another shooting on the southeast side. This time a drive-by, midday, outside of the bus stop by Fuller and Franklin. Or near there, not far from the park, about a block from where the other shooting was last month, or was it last week? Shots were fired from an SUV heading northbound east town. The target a rival, but they didn't hit the target this time. They hit a kid we think had nothing to do with it. And I travel backward through time and space and I disintegrate, become invisible. I want to see it where I couldn't when it happened. I want to see it all firsthand this time. I want to know what it felt like. So I float behind the police lines, reconstruct the scene in fragments of memories. I want to know what his mother looked like up close. I want to see her leaning over his body. A powerful, angered, and passionate song that is undoubtedly a really, really well-written one. While admittedly it took me a while to warm up to it because its kind of screamo type delivery is not really for me. After a handful of listens, I ended up growing to really quite appreciate it just for its lyrical content and its guitar work being quite impressive. So, King Park is certainly worth a listen. On the other hand, Fifth Period Massacre is exactly what it sounds like, by the band Leathermouth, which sports a delightful American flag on their album cover, beneath their band name. Leathermouth sings about a school shooting, and I don't know if it's supposed to be gnarly, or if it's supposed to be similar to King Park and be fighting against such a topic. Doesn't sound like either. It's a pretty shitty song, I hate to tell you. Essentially, it's describing this kid who, loses his mind. He wants revenge because he's gotten bullied, so he's gonna shoot up the school during 5th period. Now, not only does this song do nothing to make me think that they're either mocking and condemning the actions, but at the same time, nothing even makes me think that they're trying to make any statement whatsoever. It just sounds like they're like, what if we wrote this really gnarly song with bad riffs? And the band was like, sure. The guitar work is generic, the drumming is fine, whatever. The vocals are kind of grating. They're not as bad as you listen a few times, but it's certainly not pleasant or well-delivered vocals. The entire song is just kind of a fucking mess. I can't tell you that it's downright like half star out of 5 on Rate Your Music, absolutely abysmal, but it's not a good song either. It's not really worth your time. It's not so funny it's bad, and it's definitely not a good song. I'll read you some of the lyrics now. Revenge, 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 killed my hopes, revenge, called me names, revenge, broke my jaw, revenge, it's always the same, revenge. Nobody listens, nobody listens, nobody listens, there's no escape. I'm just like you, gave it my everything, nobody loves me, it's driving me insane. Yeah, so there's that, I guess. Maybe you'll love the song. If you do love the song, tell me why, because I don't know what there is to love about it. Just a shitty song, honestly. It's not much deeper than that. Lyrically, it's certainly not a comforting song. It's very angry and morally questionable, but it's just not even that interesting to listen to. I'm probably making it sound more interesting than it actually is.
So when the devil wants to dance with you, you better say never, because a dance with the devil might last you forever.
Back to good songs, and probably the most generally well-known song I'll be talking about in this video is Dance with the Devil by Immortal Technique. Immortal Technique's Dance with the Devil follows a boy living in the hood named William, who is really, really into the idea of being a rich thug. Naturally, it goes quite poorly. His mother ends up giving up drugs, really trying to take care of the family, but as Immortal Technique says, for every year she was sober, her son's heart simultaneously grew colder. He slowly becomes more and more of a disturbed individual engaging in drug dealing and violent acts, but he's desperate to feel legitimate in the eyes of the rest of the people that do similar things as him. So when he gets the offer to join a gang, he accepts. His initiation process, however, goes quite poorly, as he's told to rape somebody, and he does. And then he realizes it's his mom. I'll read you some of the lyrics now. This is it, kid. Now you got your chance to be raw. So Billy yoked her up and grabbed the chick by the hair and dragged her into a lobby that had nobody there. She struggled hard, but they forced her to go up the stairs. They got to the roof and then held her down on the ground, screaming, "Shut the fuck up and stop moving around." The shirt covered her face, but she screamed and clawed. So Billy stomped on the bitch until he'd broken her jaw. And then, skipping in a little bit, he thought about the cocaine with the platinum and ice, and he felt strong standing along with his new brothers. Cocked the gat to her head and pulled back the shirt cover, but what he saw made him start to cringe and stutter, because he was staring into the eyes of his own mother. She looked back at him and cried because he had forsaken her. She cried more painfully than when they were raping her. Billy then kills himself. Verse finishes, the rest of the gang kind of walks away, doesn't really give a shit. And then, for some reason, at the end of the song, they just come back in, totally giving up on the story. They're like, I'm the baddest motherfucker in town, hell yeah, totally removed from the story now, which is so unbelievably random, and I don't understand the reasoning. You had this great song, and then you decided you needed to add another 2 minutes of, generic rapper boisterous flexing. It's like, why? You had a perfectly great song that was very powerful and confrontational, and then they threw that in there, and I don't really understand what the reasoning was. It certainly kind of kills the vibe every time I listen to it. I feel like no one talking about this song ever mentions that, which makes me think that no one actually bothers to listen to the song. Personally, I do believe it is, despite that, a great song, but I just wanted to put that out there, that there's no reason for the last portion to be in there. It just doesn't make sense, and it makes what could have been a perfectly good, like, 5-minute song 7 minutes, which is fine, but just so random. I don't get why they chose to do that. Alright, for this song, this is a Hatsune Miku song. You know, the person from Fortnite! Yeah, no, so Hatsune Miku is actually a program that people can purchase to use to create music. And Kikuo is the artist that did this song I'm about to talk about. Now, Kikuo has actually made a lot of bizarrely dark songs. But today we'll be talking about Gomenai Gomenai, which is a really quite good song with the grossest lyrics in this entire video, and it's not close. I'll just get it out of the way and read them now so I can talk about it. But the entire song is about horrible, horrible abuse. He opened my ribs and drinks my soup with a personal kiss from my stomach. I don't think I have any taste, but if it makes Papa happy, suck up my yellow fat with a straw. Stick it into my pee-pee and suck it up like that, too. Fill it up with my poop and bake it. Even though my body is collapsing for Papa's sake. I'm sorry, after all, I don't have a good feeling. A big brother I don't know told me. Even though my collapsed body is pitiful, he kindly reaches out a hand. I'm sorry, I must be a bad girl, so forgive me, poor little me. I'm sorry, goodbye, I'm a bad girl for running away from Papa. I'm sorry, forgive me for falling in love with someone who's not Papa. Big brother gulps down my amniotic fluid. He breaks He breaks open my hard stomach and touches the inside. Without eating me, he treats me gently, even though my collapsed body is ugly. I'm just gonna leave it there now, because you get the idea. Isn't that just awful? Honestly, I don't really have much to say about this one. You get what you get. It's certainly not glorifying it. It's trying to show how disturbing and fucking awful this is, but also it's removed enough from reality that I can't tell if it is, like, truly dark for a reason, like a clear reason. Like, I don't know. I can't tell you any, like, cool MatPat theories as to why this song is like this. Banger, though. Like, I don't speak Japanese, right? I had to look up a translation. So if, you heard it at the beginning, you're like, hell yeah, I'd play this at the club. Don't, just in case anyone speaks Japanese. That would be really awkward and horrible. But it is a banger, so, I don't know, take that as you will, I suppose. I'm gonna leave it there with that one, because I really don't have, a book's worth of shit to say about it. It's an interesting song. It's well crafted. Those lyrics are those lyrics. Now, unfortunately, I'm not gonna be playing any of this one because Rotten Records is an asshole. To my knowledge, it's mostly with Acid Bath. We're not talking about them today. I thought about it. I've talked about them in my Disturbing Albums video. Great band. Rotten Records has some great bands signed to them. Rotten Records are famously assholes. So unfortunately, I can't play you any of this song, so sorry you didn't hear any during that transitional screen. But I can read you some lyrics and talk about it. Chloroform Girl is on the milder side of the songs I've talked about, but it's also, in terms of quality, one of the best in this entire video. I've liked this song for several years now. It's really creepy, especially the music video, damn. But it's really creepy, it's interesting, and it's super just unhinged, but it's a really, really good song. It's catchy. I could fucking dance to it. That shit's gonna be at my wedding, and everyone's gonna be really concerned, but it's gonna be at my wedding. It's a great song. I also learned how to play it on guitar. It's super easy. It's like 4 chords that you go through in the entire song. It's a great song. I'll read you some of the lyrics now so you get why I'm talking about it, if you can take a guess by the title. Your eyes look just like bullet holes. It must be all that crying. You haven't learned a thing at all. Another helter-skelter. Moonlight has come and gone. The bloody writing's on the wall. Chloroform girl, how have you been? Don't let me catch you sleeping again. You're only alive because I like you.
Because I like you.
It's been 3 years since you've seen the sunlight, but I know you're having fun. Bound, gagged, and chained up in my basement. You get the idea. Mostly the whole bound, gagged, and chained up in my basement thing definitely makes this a little bit of a hard one to get through. It's bizarre. It's vague enough that it's not quite telling you, like, it's, explicit types of horrible torture. Maybe he's actually super nice to her, and she really does want to be bound, gagged, and chained up in his basement for, upwards of a year. I don't know, man. Maybe this is actually like a really cute, kinky romance song, but to my knowledge, it sure does seem like a kidnapping scenario, which isn't particularly delightful. Polkadot Cadaver's whole thing really is just like fun-sounding music, not fun lyrics. This is their most popular song. This is a great song, and I really wanted to talk about it because it seems like not enough people have talked about it. Like, it's not... I wouldn't say it's underground, but people don't really talk about it here, so I thought that I'd bring some attention to it. It's a great song, and it's definitely worth a listen.
But none can hear my silent tread.
I Come and Stand at Every Door by Pete Seeger. Also, there's a version by the Byrds. But I'm talking about the Pete Seeger one. Is a really unpleasant song. I'd argue it's more depressing than disturbing, but I think that it still definitely does fit the theme of this video, because it's a really unforgiving song. Pete Seeger was a remarkably political folk artist, and he made some great stuff and influenced every generation after him that created folk music, whether they know it or not. He's a great artist, and I Come and Stand at Every Door is a great, albeit deeply uncomfortable song. It's about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and it's very, very heartbreaking to listen to because it does not hold back. I'll read you some of the lyrics. I come and stand at every door, but none can hear my silent tread. I knock and yet remain unseen, for I am dead, for I am dead. I'm only 7, although I died in Hiroshima long ago. I'm 7 now as I was then. When children die, they do not grow. My hair was scorched by swirling flame. My eyes grew dim, my eyes grew blind. Death came and turned my bones to dust, and that was scattered by the wind. It's not a pleasant song. I'd love to just go on and on about how catchy and great this one is. This one is mean, confrontational, and angry, but beautiful and honest and passionate, and a very effective piece of anti-war protest music. It's certainly worth a listen, not really as just something to toss on into your playlist, more so as something to just, make you think. I've talked about Xiu Xiu in the past. I also pronounced their band name Xiu Xiu, so my bad. Thank you to the commenter that corrected me. I'm usually, really bothered by mispronunciation, so this is, genuine appreciation for you. If you're watching this, thank you. So Xiu Xiu is a great band, and they've made a lot of really, really uncomfortable, disturbing music. Now, I talked about A Girl with a Basket of Fruit, the album, in my previous, I forget if it was Volume 2 or Volume 3. I think it was Volume 3 of the Disturbing Albums series. Today I'll be talking about something off an entirely separate album, which is actually one of their most well-known albums, Fabulous Muscles. So it's another one pertaining to war and how a lot of soldiers maybe aren't as honorable as we feel. I'll read you the lyrics now. There aren't tons of them. It's also kind of barely a song. It's a lot of high frequencies just blaring into your ear, making you really question your life decisions and question how you ended up here. That being said, it's a very powerful song, and I believe it's a very, very, very important piece of music history. Did you know that you were going to shoot off the top of a 4-year-old girl's head and look across her car seat down into her skull and see into her throat? And did you know that her dad would say to you, "Please, sir, can I take her body home?" Oh wait, you totally did know that would happen, 'cause you're a jock who is too stupid and too greedy and too unmotivated to do anything else but still be the biggest and still do what other people tell you to do. You did it to still be a winner. It's brutal. I mean, you just heard how brutal it is. And it's one of the angrier songs in the Xiu Xiu catalog, I'd say, despite the fact that it's not the angriest sounding. In reality, there's a lot of space in the sounds. It's not as thick and roughly textured as a lot of their songs, particularly their songs on Girl with a Basket of Fruit. But it's a very, very interesting, lyrically powerful song that I think that a lot more people should hear, because I've never heard this song brought up on YouTube or even on like forums or anything. People really just don't talk about it, but it's a very interesting song. Well, thank you for watching, especially if you got this far. I hope I piqued your interest in some of these songs, because some of these songs are really, really, really interesting. I tried picking mostly songs that I believe are good, and I didn't want to talk about just your generic death metal song like Necropedophile by Cannibal Corpse, because yes, while a lot of those are clearly fucked up, not only is it extremely par for the course in those genres, but on top of that, I like talking about songs that have just kind of an extra level to them. Like, while I absolutely love a lot of death metal and gore grind and all that brainless violent shit, it's not as interesting to talk about as something like, I don't know, like Dance with the Devil, where they're really trying to make a point, and I like being able to delve a little bit, at least, into the nuances of a lot of these songs. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope I piqued your interest in some of this stuff. Go listen to the songs. They're all on streaming. I didn't pick anything so obscure that they're, like, only on, like, fucking Internet Archive. You can find them pretty easily. And they're all, I'd say, at least worth one listen. Maybe with the exception of Fifth Period Massacre. But yes, thank you for getting this far. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next video. Next week. Goodbye.